If you're somebody who's been experiencing long-standing issues in the area of your health, we call this chronic health conditions, and you are visiting one doctor to the next, and you are struggling to find the answers that would perhaps give you a long-term solution, well, this video is for you. It is said that awareness is the precursor to experience. And in this video, I'm going to share with you not one but 6 dimensions of your health and well-being. And perhaps if we don't understand this, that will cause the circle of frustration to perpetuate. So please allow me to share my screen with you, where I would love to take you on this brief presentation to actually explain to you the 6 domains of health. This is really a whole person framework for our health and well-being. And if we don't understand the different dimensions of our health, we will never be able to fix it in the long term. We might get temporary success for sure, but long-term success may be a hard one to get. Now, before I progress, my name is Dr. Arun Dhir. I'm a gastrointestinal surgeon, but I have a very keen interest in evidence-based information that allows us to live healthy, purpose-driven, and meaningful lives. I am a university professor, and I also engage myself in other health and well-being advocacy work, which I'm really passionate about. My disclaimer is that I do run a private practice, and none of the information that I'm going to be presenting in this video is to promote my private practice. I'm not a counselor or a psychologist, and I certainly do not have any financial conflicts of interest to declare. I often say, take the best and leave the rest. I think over the last 3 decades of my experience in practicing in mainstream medical practice in tertiary hospitals has allowed me to understand that there is not just one aspect of our being. We have got interconnected pillars of human health. That's probably the best way how I can describe it, and I'm going to share this with you in a moment. Our health is multidimensional, and it is also interdependent. Beyond the absence of illness, I think I want to emphasize that there are these different domains, and this has been recognized by the World Health Organization way back in 1948, which is there in the Constitution of the World Health Organization. So what do we mean by the 6 different domains of health? As you can see on the screen, there is not just one aspect. There is a physical aspect of our being, there is a mental aspect, there is emotional, social, financial, and spiritual. Now, financial and work-related health or vocational health is something that I club it together because these 2 things are quite intimately related. But in my presentation in the next few minutes, I urge you to stick with me to the end, because towards the end, I'll be giving you some practical suggestions on what you can start doing from today onwards to actually start to get a better handle on these 6 domains. Because there is this effect, what we call as the ripple effect. Any changes in one aspect of your health and well-being are going to make a difference and an impact on the other aspects of your health or other dimensions of your back. So with that background, let's get into a little bit of a deep dive with these 6 domains. So first domain is that of your physical health. This is your body, your muscles, your bones, your skin, your physical existence that you can touch, see, and feel. Now, as Jim Rohn said, take good care of your body. It's the only place you have to live, and there is so much truth to that. What is good physical health going to look like, and what does a negative physical health going to look like? The negative states are that of sickness, disease, and pain, whereas positive states are those of energy, vitality, and very importantly, that fitness. And I think this is really critical to understand that it is the negatives and the positives. What are we trying to achieve over here? Second domain is that of mental health. As Dan Millman said, that you don't have to control your thoughts, you just have to stop letting them control you. So, the negative state of mental health looks like brain fog, inability to focus, pessimism. This is your attitude, as we call it. Whereas a positive state is that of clarity, having that focus, the ability to discipline your thoughts or discipline them, and also a state of optimism. This is a positive mental attitude. Domain number three is that of emotional health. Now, a lot of people confuse mental with emotional, but there are two different aspects or perspectives around it. As as this famous quotation by Lau Holtz says, it's not the load that breaks you down, it's the way you carry it. And that's got a lot to do with emotion. Sometimes we catastrophize situations and circumstances. So, what does a negative emotional state look like? There is perpetuation of anxiety, depression, and fragility. Whereas the positive state shows equanimity, which means the individual is more balanced. There is a sense of calmness. And then there is also resilience, which is basically the ability to bounce back. Now, I understand what I'm trying to share with you are the extreme scenarios, but I think it is for you as the person who's viewing this to see how it relates to you. Of course, this is not personal advice, but on the same token, it's giving you a perspective on where you stand around it. Domain number four is that of social health. See, as Brené Brown says, that connection is why we are here. It is what gives purpose and meaning to our lives. A lonely life, an isolated life, is very meaningless. And that's where, if we look at the negative aspects of it, loneliness is turning out to be one of the most significant epidemics of our generation. This is followed by self-neglect and also a lack of initiative, that lack of confidence. Whereas a positive state is that radiates confidence, elevated self-esteem, there is empathy, and also there are meaningful and long-term connections. So social connection is protective against morbidity and mortality. In fact, studies are showing that individuals who have got good social connections are actually living longer, and their risk of cardiovascular diseases is actually 20 to 25% lower than those people who are lonely. Now, the next domain is that of financial health. Now, you would say, of course, I'm not an expert in giving financial advice, but it's not about that. It's about how stress and worry or improperly managed financial health, and you could replace the word financial with vocational health, because for many of us, work and finances are quite interlinked, is impacting our actual health and well-being. So, as Les Brown says, money may not be considered important, but in terms of necessities of life, it's right up there with oxygen. Just like you cannot survive without oxygen, you need money. And healthy dose, of course. Now, that is again a personal thing, and I'm not trying to give you financial advice here, but I'm sharing with you what the negative and the positive states look like. So, negative states is that of fear, worry, insecurity. Whereas a positive state is that of that feeling of security, right? We're not talking about opulence and luxury over here. We're talking about security. Purposeful service. This is where the work connection comes in, because we believe, and I know that, your rewards in life are very proportionate to the service that you are delivering. And the last and most important in the positive side is a state of financial literacy, because when you have information, that level of literacy, your confidence levels start to go up. Next, we move to what exactly is the reason, or what is the evidence behind it. See, financial stress is one of the key determinants of stressors, and it impacts the mental and the physical health. In fact, this study that was done by American Psychology Association, they did a stress survey of Americans in 2022, and that showed that almost 80% of Americans in 2022 were living under financial stress. And also our culture of this BNPL, which stands for buy now and pay later. that culture essentially promotes you to get into debt, take more, buy more things that you probably don't even need. And as the famous Warren Buffett has said, do not save what is left after spending, but spend what is left after saving. And that's kind of is a sage advice. Now, domain number 6 is that of spiritual health. Now, I want to be very clear over here. I'm not considering myself as a religious person, but I do consider myself as somebody who believes in a spiritual source, this universal intelligence that is guiding all of us. You can give it any name that you choose to. And I think what it relates to me is the reason why we are here. And as Frederick Nietzsche said, that he who has a why to live can bear almost any how. And how does this show up in our lives when it comes to health and well-being? Well, negative states actually reflect a state of hopelessness. There is a tendency for addictions, and this attitude of victimhood, that means others have done this to me, so I'm a victim. Whereas a positive state is that of having a sense of purpose, being able to forgive others, and also a sense of gratitude. And once again, I know these are not easy states to achieve, but I'm just showcasing you what two extreme examples of this look like. Expanding the spiritual health domain further, what is the benefit of this? Spirituality actually enhances resilience, meaning, and coping mechanisms for us. And there's a fantastic book which has been written on the Handbook of Religion and Health. Once again, I'm not promoting religion, but I'm just showcasing that there is a lot of work that has already been done in terms of spiritual research and its impact on our health and well-being. So with that background, friends, I want to say that all these 6 domains, they are not in individual silos. These are interconnected domains. And as I mentioned to you earlier about the ripple effect, and what it really means is a challenge in one domain has the capacity to cascade and impact other domains of your life. So I often say, don't look at just health in terms of your physical well-being. There are these 5 other domains that we often overlook. So holistic health or a whole person health requires a balanced, evidence-based, scientific approach across all domains. Now that's my message. Now, what is the practical takeaway from this? Let's start with some very small actions. And I've put over here something very small and basic that you could really start doing from today onwards if you wanted to in each of these 6 domains. Number 1, physical domain. Start with a bit of movement. I've often said that motion can change your emotion. Physiology changes psychology. Just light movement, and you could make a brisk walk. Just go out, and if you can do it in nature, that's even better rather than just doing it in your house on a treadmill or in the gym. Number 2, as far as mental health goes, do a 5-minute brain declutter. What does that mean? Take a journal which has got a clean page, write down thoughts that are coming up in your mind, things that you need to do. Instead of storing them in your mind where they capture a lot of precious real estate over here in your mind, take them out and declutter your mind. A mind that is decluttered can think more clearly. Number 3, emotional health. Name and accept one emotion that you feel on a regular basis that kind of deflates you. Write it down again on a journal, because what that will do is it'll allow you to understand that emotion, what is the cause for it, and be able to manage it or shift it. Ultimately, emotional health is all about developing that resilience by being able to shift. That's the key thing. Number 4 is social health. Reach out to one person that you may not have spoken to in a long time. Just a text message or a call or an email, whichever way you feel most comfortable, but make that effort. Reach out. Just reach out. That's okay. They may not respond, but you reached out, and that's what counts. Number 5 is financial health. And I would say that, the simplest thing is if you're not a reader, you're not into financial literacy or understanding much, don't worry. Just track the amount of expense of one particular thing that you spend money on, which you think you should not be doing. Let's say a cup of coffee. Let's say, that dinner that you go for every second day. Whatever it may be, you choose that, but track that expense. Write it down again in a journal, because if it is written, you can check it, you can go back and measure it. And last, and perhaps the most important, is that of spiritual health. And that is where gratitude comes in. Try and make a conscious effort to be grateful. And I think it is a hard thing to do, because in this day and age of social media, where people's expectations are set up very high, you always are wanting more. You're not satisfied with what you have got. You're always wanting more. I often say that don't be satisfied, but you got to be happy with where you are. And there is a difference between the two things. You got to be happy with what you have been given. Don't be satisfied to be there, which means that you're still going to strive to get something better. So that's the difference between being happy where you are, but not satisfied with where you are. So use that to express gratitude for whatever you have got in your life. Now, I'm going to conclude this with this one slide that summarizes all of this, that, true well-being is not one-dimensional. It is a multi-dimensional thing. We got to assess and nurture each of these areas and encourage these lifestyle changes, some of which I've just shared with you, to have longevity. Because, friends, we got to understand that we are living longer, sicker lives. What we want to do is we want to live longer, healthier lives. And that's the premise of this video. I'm going to leave you with these 3 questions. I want you to reflect on these 3 questions and perhaps put something in the comments, which is the domain you are currently thriving in, you're really doing well of, out of the 6 domains that I just shared with you. Which is one that needs perhaps the most attention in your case? And how will you start to build a system that supports all of these 6 domains? So have a think about these 3 questions that I've just shared with you, friends, because I think at the end of the day, when you reflect on this, come up with your own answers and have the courage to share publicly that this is what I'm going to work on. And of course, it takes a lot of courage, I get it. But the important thing is that when you have done that self-reflection, you've actually created that awareness. And as I said right in the beginning, awareness is the precursor to experience. You want to experience amazing health and, abundance in all areas of your sort of health and well-being. Well, start with the awareness. Lovely seeing you again. Thanks a lot, and I'll chat to you at my next video. Take care and stay well.